My name is Ronnie and today you're watching the best 5 cheeseburgering marches. Hello my friends and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdom video. Today I'm gonna talk the best 5 cheeseburgering marches or city hopping marches or poking marches. But we all know that it has a rhyme to it when you say cheeseburger, as Cheesegul already started with this in some of his past live streams. Now everybody is using this abbreviation for this city hopping or poking out of your city and trying to get really good trades with just one march. There is more than 5 marches for this role, but I want to give you the best 5 marches in this video, and there's gonna be a couple of mention after I say these 5 marches because there is a couple of other marches that definitely require a mention as well. Now before I'm gonna start saying the first marches, I need to give a little bit more details. These marches can also be used for murder ball, for field fighting. These marches can also be used for various other aspects of the game. It's not necessary that you have to use them only for city hopping or just cheeseburgering or just poking marches. They can have a variety of utility into the game. But they are very specific and they are very good for this particular role of city hopping. And when this city hopping is best, everybody knows that when you're being overwhelmed, when your opponents are on your territory, that is the best time when you should do city hopping. Because you want to try to make them refresh, you want to try to make them pull back, because obviously they are keep getting bad trades and bad trades and bad trades and they're just filling their hospital. So you want to push them back so you guys can create a murder ball, and that's when this city hopping, it is very essential and very helpful. The first march obviously has to be Pakal and Harald, because it is one of these best marches that is really good at poking, or one of these best marches that is really good for swarming. Now the reason I'm saying Pakal and Harald, you've probably seen other people using Harald and Pakal. That can also be used, but the reason is Pakal is because of the defense tree and because of the amount of damages reduction that provides with the defense tree and all the skills that Pakal has. The more you survive on the battlefield, the more time you have to do counter attack, and the more time you have for Harald to do his AoE damage. Because Harald, with his 4 skills down for bridge, he has a 20% probability to cast his primary skills, which by the way it is 1500 when he is surrounded. And there is even more damage increase. After using this skill, troops gain 20% increased damage. There is no reason to give more details. Everybody have seen Pakal and Harald in action and everybody knows how powerful they are on the field. In what situation I would probably use Harald being first? I don't think that is really a good option. Like I said, I've seen people doing that. I would still use Pakal first. I think that is the best way that you should go with this march. Using Harald first would be only for the purpose of having the skill talent tree, which the skill talent tree gives you more race generation, and you should have a faster skill rotation, which means that Harald should pop his primary skill more often. Also, Harald with his primary skill will also boost Pakal with 20% damage, so it's kinda the theory behind it of going with Harald first, so Pakal can hit a little bit stronger. Going on to the march number 2, it is still with Harald, because obviously his 4 skill is just too impressive with a 20% chance. And we got Alexander. The reason being, Alexander has the attack tree, and when you go onto the attack tree, there is a lot of all damages that you can get from the attack tree. Normal attack, which also increase counter attack, including counter attack damage. Plus there is some damages reduction, and there is a lot of attack involved in the attack tree. So there is a lot of reasons to choose Alex over Scipio. Now you've probably seen a lot of people going with Harald and Alex versus Alex and Harald. Now this all depends on the situations. There is people when are waiting for you to pop out of the city. When those people are waiting for you and they jump on you the moment you went out of your city, that is the best moment when you should go with Alex first, because you cannot wait for Harald to generate a skill rotation. Because when players go with Harald first, It is because I already explained on the previous march, is because of the skill talent tree, because you generate more rage and you generate faster rage and you empower the second in command. But with Alex first, you're not waiting for that. So in my opinion, the second march remains Alex primary with Harald as a second in command. But if the opponents are really not paying attention, then you could go with Harald and Alex. The same reason is the instant damage. That's why Alex, because this is a 1700 pop in a go. This is a pretty big nuke from Alex. That's why he's probably still on the field, because that's just an amazing number. While Scipio, right, because that's what probably everybody was thinking about it, this is additional damage factor. This is 1500 total, but it is over 3 seconds, which in my opinion and from my experience in the game and from what I have noticed, big numbers that are in a single go, they're usually higher. Like Alexander, for example, who does 1700 in a single shot. Going on to the march number 3, this is when we are introducing Scipio, and it's going to be Scipio Africanus with Harald. Scipio Africanus being first. In my opinion, I would recommend putting Scipio first, because from the talent tree you'll get emergency protection. So if you get swarmed and you get a couple of skill damages, this should also help you to mitigate some of the damage that you're taking, so Harald can pop more of his Stamford Bridge, the 4 skill. If you want to go with Harald first and Scipio second, that's also a very good decision. There's nothing wrong going with Harald, but Scipio, with his support talent tree, you'll have a better rage generation skill rotation than Harald has with the skill talent tree. Going on to the march number 4. This is going to be between Alex and Scipio. Now, either you're gonna put Scipio first or Alex first. This all depends if you can do skill rotation or you're just hopping and they are swarming you and you have to go back into the city. This is the same situation with some of the other marshals that I mentioned. So if they are really waiting for you when you get out of the city and they are swarming you right away or a couple of seconds later, then you should put Alex first, because you have the attack tree. So you should cause more damage to the marches that are hitting you. Then you go back into the city, you refresh, you come out, and you keep doing that. But if they are not paying attention, which I mentioned on some of the other marches, then you should put Scipio first, because with the support time tree, you'll have a faster skill rotation. And with the faster skill rotation, you'll do more AoE damage, and then you'll go back right in the city, you'll refresh, you'll go out again. But it all depends if they are waiting for you or not. But my recommendation remains to go with Alex first, because I'm pretty sure people these days are waiting for you. Going on to the march number 5, this is where we are introducing Attila and Takeda. So yes, Attila and Takeda did drop in ranks pretty drastically, even though probably some of you might disagree a little bit to this. But let's face it, Attila and Takeda, they don't have any instant damage. So if you are not lucky, for example, if you're using Ring on Attila, or if you're not lucky for the 4 skill of Attila to pop, but Attila needs to be swarmed in the same time when all these are popping, while the other marches, they don't need to be swarmed for things to pop, like the instant damage, right? So Attila and Takeda, they could potentially be very good for city hopping, but you need to be swarmed and you need a lot of things to activate, and then you need to go right back into the city, and that's when you'll get positive trades on everybody that swarms you. It also matters how many marches are swarming you as well, because, and this is valid for the other marches as well, because if there's like 100 marches swarming you, you might just die in those couple of seconds before you even get back in the city. But for this particular role of trying to fend off people from your territory or make them refresh and so on, so you're giving a fighting chance to your players to get out of their cities and fight on the field, as a 5th march, Attila Takeda can be still used for this purpose. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's gonna be a couple of other marches that are really good for this particular role. For example, Attila and Nevsky. So if you put Attila first and Nevsky as a second for field, that can also work really good for this particular role. But the reason this is not on the top is because you'll be dependent of doing a skill rotation, while Attila Takeda, they don't really need to do a skill rotation, so you can hit with this 2300 damage factor. You have already seen rallies being used of Attila and Nevsky, and I have seen marches of Attila and Nevsky being used on the field, so it's definitely a very solid march to use. Now, some other mentions about poking can be with commanders that have very fast skill rotation. If a commander has a very fast skill rotation, it means that it doesn't take long when you get out of the city, especially if you're lucky a little bit for a horn to pop, or if you're lucky for some feral nature to pop, depending on your talent trees. You can start popping skills like the primary skill of XY, which is 900 rage requirement. And if I'm correct, is basically 850 with the 4 skill. Now, some people try to do various combination with XY. You could do XY and Nevsky, right? I mean, that will be a very strong combination. You could do XY and William. William also has instant damage, which is 1000 damage factor. Not the best, but not the worst either. Or you could go with Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan with his second skill will reduce the rage requirement even lower, so that will be like 750. So imagine how fast skill rotation can that be. But these marches are very squishy, so if they really swarm you with that skill rotation that you have done, you will not cover the amount of severity one that they will give to you. So these marches are really not the best for this particular role, but they can be used, right? Maybe they are not paying attention, maybe they are marching to a particular place, and you can go out, you dish out a skill damage, and you go back in the city. Or if they're really not paying attention, then you can keep doing it you can keep skill damaging them. And as part as the other mentioned, there is a couple of archer marches that are also good for this particular role. You have Artemisia, for example, which has her expertise, 1200 damage factor all in total, and then you have El Cid with his second skill, which has 1000 damage factor with a 10% chance. And it all depends how you want to pair these commanders. So for example, you could do an Amanitor being primary, because you also have the support talent tree. You can put a horn on a monitor, and you could put a Artemisia as a second. So you can try to get the instant damage from Artemisia, and also try to get a skill rotation from a monitor. Plus, if a monitor gets any kind of AoE, she does AoE back as well. But the reason they are on order, because if you get swarmed, you could get really bad trades. Or if they swarm you for a very long time. If they only swarm you for a couple of seconds, it might just be okay. Now, another combination interesting could be Artemisia and El Cid, because Artemisia has 10% chance with her expertise, and then you have El Cid with the second skill with a 10% chance, so you get chances for instant damages with archers. Combinations with YSG can also work, because you have extra rage generation, which also grants 100 archer attack bonus, and you get 50% skill damage. So whichever combination you want to do, like a Nebu and YSG, so you have the skill talent tree, and with the skill talent tree you'll have feral nature, or you want to try some Cyrus and YSG, because Cyrus has additional damages as well on 2 of his skills. This could also be a very nice combination for archers. But again, archers are pretty squishy. Some more mention we can give to Honda as well. Rather you want to put Honda primary or secondary, my recommendation is, if you want to do city hopping, to put him as a secondary. There is a couple of very interesting skills that Honda has, and that is his third skill. After dealing active skill damage, the target will take continuous damage factor 200 over the 2 seconds. And then the march speed reduction. This effect can trigger at once every 5 seconds. On top of that, you have more troops capacity, you have skill damage bonus, you have damage reduction, and then you have Honda's expertise, which every time you go out of your city, even if people swarm you, this should reset. That's a pretty huge deal, especially when you're getting swarmed. Mehmed might be included a little bit in there. You could potentially do a Harald and Mehmed if you don't have any other option, or various other option with Mehmed if they're not really touching you, or if they're not really swarming you and you are able to do skills rotation. Mehmed can be considered for this city hopping, maybe Theodora, but again, these are on other mentions because they are not the best, but they do have AoE, they do have a lot of skill damage, So they could potentially be used for this. But you have the top 5 and you have the other mentions, which I tried to put them in order of utility. And those are the ones that I really recommend that you should use for this particular reroll of city hopping. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you liked this video. Until next time, this is your boy Ronnie signing off. Peace out, and take care. See you on the next one and stay safe out there, my friends.